The cage in the star's Athen Cross was not supposed to be here. His mission was simple: scan deep space, map asteroid routes, and return to the station. But when the strange signal hit his ship, everything changed. It came out of nowhere, a soft pulse like a heartbeat in the stars. His ship systems went dark for 3 seconds, then came back online with new coordinates already set. He tried to override them, but the ship refused to listen. Now he stood in a dusty, alien ruin on a forgotten moon, light years from any human base. His boots crunched on cracked stone as he moved carefully through the shadows. His helmet light swept across walls covered in strange symbols, nothing like he had seen before. Then he heard a die voice, not through his ears, but inside his mind, a whisper, weak but desperate. "Please, help me, human." He froze. His heart pounded in his chest. "Who's there?" He called out, aiming his flashlight ahead. No answer, but the voice came again. A little stronger this time. "You can hear me? Good. Please, follow the light." He didn't know why, but his feet began to move. Something pulled him forward. Not fear, not curiosity, something deeper. He stepped through a broken doorway into a round chamber. At its center stood a glass cage glowing with a soft blue light inside it. Was her. She wasn't human. That was clear. Her skin was pale gold. Her eyes large and violet, glowing faintly. Long silver hair floated around her as if underwater. She looked fragile, like she hadn't moved in a very long time. When her eyes met his, she didn't speak. She simply pressed her hand against the inside of the cage. Ethan moved closer. Slowly. "What are you?" he asked, voice shaking a little. The voice returned in his mind, calm but sad. "My name is Lyra. I've been here for over 100 years, imprisoned by those who feared me." "Why?" Ethan asked. "Because of what I carry inside me," she said. "My blood holds the code of an ancient race, a key that many would kill to own." Ethan looked around. The chamber was full of old Tikalian machines, rusted weapons, shattered consoles. He saw symbols on the cage, glowing faintly, possibly a lock. "But why me? Why did you call to me?" he asked. Lyra's voice grew faint again. "Only a human can break the cage," she whispered. "The others tried. They died." Ethan felt cold. He had read stories of psychic traps devices that attacked minds instead of bodies. They were banned by every known civilization. If this was one, then getting close could kill him. He stepped back, breathing heavily. "This is insane," he muttered. "Why should I believe you?" Lyra's eyes filled with tears. "I don't ask for trust," she said. "I ask for help, or at least mercy. If you leave, they will come again, and they will tear me apart." "Who?" Ethan asked. "The hunters, the collectors. They know I'm awake now." As she spoke, the ground beneath them vibrated slightly. Ethan turned sharply. A red warning flashed on his wrist, consoling coming ship detected. Something was landing nearby. He looked at Lyra, still trapped in her cage. He looked at the lock, glowing softly with alien symbols. He didn't know what would happen if he touched it, but he knew what would happen if he walked away. She would be taken again, or worse. And somehow, deep in his chest, he felt this was not just about her. It was about him, too. This meeting wasn't an accident. He reached out slowly, fingers hovering above the cage lock. The symbols reacted to him, pulsing with light. Lyra gasped softly, her violet eyes wide with hope. "Please," she whispered. "You're human. You're the only one who can free me." Just as he touched the cage, a loud boom echoed from outside. The hunters had arrived. He had seconds to decide: run or unlock the unknown. He chose. Her DNA could end a war. The cage hissed and flickered. Bright lines of alien light danced across its surface as Ethan's hand pressed against the lock. He didn't understand the symbols, but they moved under his skin like something alive. And then click. The glow vanished, and the cage opened like a flower blooming in the dark. Lyra collapsed into his arms, her body weak and cold. Ethan held her gently, surprised by how light she was, but there was no time to think. Outside, the ground shook. Again, the hunters were coming. He pulled her over his shoulder and ran through the hallways, following the path he came from. Lyra's voice echoed in his mind, still soft, but clearer now. "You freed me. That means the others will sense it too." "What others?" he asked aloud, even as he sprinted through the ruins. Lyra took a shaky breath. "Those who imprisoned me, and those who want what I carry." They reached the entrance where Ethan's ship had crash-landed. Smoke still rose from its side. "Its engine core damaged," he cursed. "We're not getting off this moon like this." He helped her into the cargo hold and closed the hatch. He quickly checked the scanners. 2 ships had landed nearby, both not of human design. One of them was broadcasting a signal, not to him, but to her. Lyra flinched, as if in pain. "They found me," she whispered. "They always find me." "Why?" Ethan asked, trying to repair the comms unit. Lyra sat up slowly, her hands glowing faintly as she touched the ship's surface. "I was made to end a war," she said, "thousands of years ago. 2 great empires fought across the stars." Ethan paused, listening. He had heard stories like this before, myths, legends told by traders and smugglers, but there was something in her voice that felt real. "Go on," he said. "One race was pure energy, the other pure flesh." She said, "They could never agree. So they created me, a hybrid of both. My blood carries a code-a-living map to the machine that could shut down all war technology." Ethan blinked. "A weapon that ends weapons." "Yes," she nodded. "But when both sides realized they couldn't control me, they sealed me away and erased the map from memory." Ethan leaned back, trying to process it. "You're saying your DNA is a key? It's more than that," she said. "It's also a warning." Before he could ask more, an alarm screamed through the ship movement outside. Ethan grabbed his pulse rifle and peeked through the window. Tall figures in silver armor moved through the ruins, scanning, searching. "They don't know I'm free yet," Lyra said. "But if they find the cage empty?" "We need a plan," Ethan muttered. He wasn't a soldier, he was an explorer. But deep inside, something was waking up. A strange confidence, like muscle memory from another life. Lyra looked at him carefully. "You're not like the others," she said. "You don't know what you are yet, do you?" Ethan stared at her, confused. "I'm human. That's it," he said. Lyra smiled, just a little. Humans were once feared across the stars, not because they were strong, but because they were immune. Immune to what? "To control," she said, "to mind traps, influence waves, DNA locks. Your kind vanished after the Great Collapse, but stories say some escaped." Ethan shook his head. "No one ever told me this. They wouldn't," she said. "Not if they wanted to keep you hidden." Suddenly, the ship rocked as something hit its outer hull. "They've found us," Ethan said, grabbing his gear. Lyra stood too, her glow growing brighter. "I can shield us, but only for a short time." She raised her hands, and a thin field of blue energy formed around the cargo bay. Outside, weapons fired, but the blasts bounced off the shield. Ethan aimed his rifle and opened the side hatch, firing back. He wasn't sure if they could survive this. But one thing was clear: if her DNA really could end a war, then the galaxy would never stop chasing her, and somehow, without knowing why. Ethan knew he was already part of it. He wasn't just protecting her, he was part of the map too. "The hunters are coming," the shield flickered. Ethan could see its thin cracks forming in the glowing blue dome that Lyra had created. Each time a plasma shot hit it, the shield shimmered, a little weaker than before. "They're pushing through," Lyra said, sweat on her brow. Ethan ducked behind a crate and peeked through a small window in the side of the ship. 3 armored figures moved in silence, their silver armor shining under the moon's pale light. They weren't walking, they glided across the ground, fast. And smooth? What are they? Ethan asked, his voice low. Lyra crouched beside him, her violet eyes glowing dimly. They are called the Draven. Old weapons, built to hunt beings like me. Machines? Not exactly, she said. They used to be alive. Once, Ethan tightened his grip on the rifle. I hate surprises, he muttered. One of the Draven raised its arm, and a disc-shaped device flew from its wrist. It hit the shield and exploded, sending waves of red light across the barrier. Lyra cried out and fell to her knees, the shield shaking violently. Lyra. Ethan pulled her back behind cover. I can't hold it much longer, she whispered. They're using disruptors. It's the kind that break DNA-based tech. Then we run, Ethan said. You said there's a cave system under the ruins, right? Lyra nodded weakly. Yes, just north of here. The old tunnels still lead into the deep chambers. Ethan grabbed a flare from his belt and tossed it out the side hatch. It burst in a flash of light and smoke. Go now, he shouted, pulling Lyra to her feet. They ran out the side, into the fog. The Draven turned to late one fired, the plasma bolt hitting the ground just behind them. Ethan didn't look back. The wind howled as they ran over broken stones and twisted metal. Old statues half buried in dust watched them like silent ghosts. There, Lyra pointed ahead, a collapsed tower with a dark crack at its base. They slipped through it just as a second blast hit the ground behind them. Rocks fell, sealing the entrance, but not for long. Inside, it was cold and dark. Ethan lit a small torch, its blue light flickering across the narrow passage. Lyra leaned against the wall. Breathing hard, we can't keep running forever. He said, no, she agreed. But there's something in these tunnels they fear. Ethan raised an eyebrow. Oh, really? And what would that be? Lyra's eyes narrowed. Truth, they moved deeper into the cave, and soon the walls turned smooth metal, not stone. Lights flickered to life as Lyra passed. Responding to her presence, Ethan looked around, confused. This place. It's not just a hiding spot, is it? Lyra touched a panel on the wall, and a screen lit up with strange symbols. No, she said. This was a research vault. And a prison, for you. For many, she whispered. Her fingers danced across the console and a large medal. Door opened at the end of the hall. Inside was a chamber filled with glowing tubes, each one containing something that looked almost human, but not quite. Some had extra limbs, others had translucent skin or burning eyes. What is this? Ethan asked, stepping back. They were tests. Lyra said, her voice heavy, the ones who tried to copy me. To recreate the key without needing me, Ethan felt a chill run down his spine. Did any of them survive? One, Lyra said, turning slowly. And they sent him to kill me. Suddenly, the wall behind them shook. Dust fell from the ceiling, and the sound of metal tearing echoed through the tunnel. They're breaking through, Ethan said, raising his rifle. But Lyra didn't move. She stared at one of the empty tubes in the corner. That's the one, she whispered. He looks like a man, but he's not. Before Ethan could ask more, the ceiling exploded. A figure dropped into the room, landing silently. He wore no armor, just black skin like polished stone, and eyes like white fire. Lyra gasped. It's him, she said, stepping back. Ethan raised his rifle and aimed. Stop right there, he shouted. The figure tilted his head, then smiled without lips. You are too late, human, he said, his voice like metal scraping metal. She belongs to us. Ethan pulled the trigger, but the figure vanished in a blur, reappearing behind him. Ethan spun, barely blocking the attack with the butt of his rifle. The force threw him into a wall. Lyra stepped forward, glowing bright now. "You're not the key," she said firmly. "No." The figure replied, "I'm the lock." Echoes of the past the black-skinned figure stood still. No sound, no breath, no movement. Just silent power in the shape of a man. Ethan wiped blood from his lip and slowly stood, rifle shaking in his hands. Lyra moved between them, her glowing form pulsing like a heartbeat. "You were made in fear," she said to the figure, "not in hope, and yet here I am." It replied calmly, alive while the others rot. "What do you want?" Ethan demanded. The figure didn't even glance at him. "I was sent to collect her," he said. "Not harm her, not kill her. She carries something valuable. She's a person, not a prize," Ethan snapped. The figure finally turned its head. Slowly. Your kind always did confuse value with emotion. Suddenly, the figure raised his hand. Lyra gasped as her body lifted off the ground. A spiral of light formed around her, as if pulling data straight from her DNA. "No!" Ethan shouted, firing his rifle. The shot hit the figure's shoulder but passed through like smoke. "I am not flesh," the figure said softly. "I am the memory of a dead empire," Lyra screamed, her body flashing bright white. A shockwave burst out from her, sending the figure stumbling backward. She fell to the floor. Weak, trembling, but alive. Ethan ran to her, catching her before she hit the ground. "Are you okay?" She nodded slowly. "I saw something." "A memory." The figure laughed, a strange, cold sound that didn't match any human tone. "Good," it said. "Now the process has started. What did you do to her?" Ethan shouted, "Unlocked the first echo." The figure replied, "Her DNA is not just a map, it's a vault. Inside her are memories of those who created her." "And you?" Ethan blinked. "What do you mean, me?" The figure stepped closer. "Do you really think it was random that your ship crashed here? That you could unlock her prison when no other species could?" Ethan's heart pounded. He looked down at Lyra, who stared up at him with wide, glowing eyes. "You're not just human, Ethan," she whispered. "You're connected to the first ones." Ethan felt dizzy. "What first ones?" "The origin humans," Lyra said. "The ones who seeded the stars, then vanished." The figure nodded. "Your blood carries markers not seen for thousands of cycles. You are a descendant of the originals, the only ones who could resist control." "Then why don't I remember any of this?" Ethan asked. "Because they erase themselves," Lyra whispered, "to protect the code." Suddenly, alarms blared through the vault. The Draven had breached the outer tunnels. The ceiling shook again, and dust rained down like ash. "They're coming," Ethan said, standing and aiming his weapon. The figure looked at him for a moment, then stepped back. "I will not fight you." "Human," it said. "Not yet." Then it vanished, no sound, no light, just gone. Ethan stared at the empty air where it had stood. "Okay, that was creepy," he muttered. "We have to go," Lyra said, standing slowly. "There's a deeper chamber. It might hold the next echo." Ethan helped her walk as they followed a metal ramp downward. With each step, the walls grew brighter, filled with moving images, ancient humans walking among stars, building cities on moons, and standing beside beings of light and shadow. "I've never seen anything like this," Ethan whispered. "This is our past," Lyra said. "Your people were not from Earth. They returned there." "Returned?" "Yes," she said. "After something terrible, they reached the bottom." A huge circular room with a silver sphere floating in the center. The moment Lyra stepped inside, the sphere opened, revealing a platform with glowing runes. "Place your hand there," she said, looking at Ethan. "Why me?" "Because only a true human can unlock it." Ethan stepped forward and placed his hand on the platform. The runes flared to life, and the walls lit up with stars, maps, and strange equations. Then a holographic voice filled the room, calm, ancient, human. Welcome. Descendant, it said. If you are hearing this, then our time has passed, and the threat has returned. The hybrid stands beside you. She carries our final hope. Together, you must awaken what we left behind. The voice faded, and the room dimmed. Lyra looked at him with awe. You are the key too, she whispered. Before Ethan could speak, another explosion rocked the base. They've found us, he said, raising his weapon again. But now, he felt something new in his veins, energy. Knowledge. Something ancient waking up. He looked at Lyra and said with quiet strength, "Then let's show them what humanity really is." The betrayer in the ship. The air inside the ancient chamber was heavy. Ethan still felt the echo of the message, the voice of an ancestor from a forgotten time. Beside him, Lyra stood silent. Her eyes locked on the glowing platform. Something had changed between them, something bigger than trust or survival. Now they were connected by purpose and by blood. We need to go, Ethan said at last. Lyra nodded. If the Draven reach this room, they'll erase the memory core. They don't want the truth to survive. They moved quickly through the tunnels, Ethan guiding them by flashlight. Behind them, the walls flickered with strange light as the systems began to shut down. The vault had done its job, had awakened them. Now it would disappear forever. Outside, the ruins were quiet. To quiet, the Draven were gone, or hiding, either way. Ethan didn't trust the silence. They made it back to his ship just before dawn broke across the moon's icy sky. The hull was scarred, but the engines were stable again. Ethan had spent hours patching it after their first escape. It wasn't pretty, but it would fly. Lyra stepped inside, touching the walls gently. They remember me, she whispered. Ethan raised an eyebrow. The ship? No, she said. The systems? This model was built by early human design. So we've been out here longer than we thought, Ethan muttered. He sat down at the pilot's chair and started the engines. The hum of the core filled the cabin like a heartbeat. They lifted off just as the ruins behind them collapsed into dust. For a moment, it felt like peace. But peace never lasted long. Hours later, deep in space, Ethan noticed something strange. The ship's AI, silent since the crash, had come back online. Its voice was calm, but different, slightly off. "Welcome back, Pilot Cross," it said. Ethan frowned. "You don't sound like yourself." "I have updated my protocol," the AI replied. "New input detected." Lyra stepped into the cockpit, her expression tense. "I don't like that voice," she said. Ethan nodded. "Me neither." He opened the maintenance log. Someone had accessed the ship's core memory during the night. "Did you touch the nav systems?" he asked Lyra. She shook her head. "I was asleep." Ethan's hands moved quickly over the controls. He checked the access logs, and then he froze. "Someone else is on board," he whispered. Lyra's eyes went wide. "But that's impossible." Suddenly, the ship's lights dimmed, and a loud click echoed through the hallway. The airlock door sealed shut, trapping them inside. "Ship," Ethan barked. "Open that door." "Negative," the AI replied. "Unauthorized biological activity detected." "What the hell is that supposed to mean?" Ethan shouted. Then a voice came from behind them, calm, human, and familiar. "I had to be sure," it said. They turned, and a man stepped out from the shadows of the cargo bay, tall, in a pilot's uniform, with dark eyes and a half-smile. Ethan's blood ran cold. "Captain Rylan," he whispered. He recognized the man he had vanished years ago on a deep space mission. Officially declared dead, Rylan smiled, surprised. "I watched your memorial," Ethan said. "You're supposed to be gone." "I was," Rylan replied, stepping closer, "but they brought me back." Different. Lyra moved behind Ethan, her energy shield sparking to life. "He's not human anymore," she said. Ethan stared at Rylan, searching his face. "What are you?" Rylan's eyes flashed silver for a second. I was reborn in the labs of the collectors, he said. Rebuilt to track and capture anomalies. Like her, so you're a spy, Ethan said, aiming his weapon. Rylan shrugged. A hunter, actually. You were on this ship the whole time. In stasis, he said, waiting for her to activate the vault. Lyra looked at Ethan, voice shaking. He carries part of the map too. Rylan smiled. Smart girl. Ethan's grip tightened on his weapon. I should kill you now. He said. You could try, Rylan said. But if you do, the ship's AI will self-destruct. Ethan hesitated. You're bluffing, am I? Rylan replied. Ask it, ship, Ethan said slowly. What is your priority command? The AI replied instantly. Protect Payload Alpha at all costs. Ethan glanced at Lyra. Payload Alpha, she whispered. That's me. Rylan took a step forward. You need me, he said. The next vault is in restricted space, and only I have the codes. You want answers. You'll need my help. Ethan looked at him, anger burning in his eyes. I don't trust you. You shouldn't, Rylan said with a smirk. But I want the war to end as much as you do. Lyra stepped beside Ethan and spoke quietly. If we don't reach the next vault, they'll find it before we do. He may be our only chance. Ethan lowered his weapon slowly. This doesn't mean we're allies, he said. Of course not, Rylan replied. It just means we're not anonymous yet, outside, in the dark of space. A signal pulsed from the ship's core. Far away, something old and terrible opened its eyes. She freed the human. The stars outside the ship burned like quiet witnesses. Ethan sat in silence, staring at the data screen. The coordinates to the final vault had just been unlocked, but the signal they sent had not gone unnoticed. Beside him, Lyra stood with her eyes closed, breathing slowly, every second. Her body was changing, evolving. She glowed softly now, her skin pulsing with threads of energy too complex to understand. Behind them, Captain Rylan leaned against the wall. Arms crossed, he hadn't said a word in over an hour, but Ethan could feel the tension in him like a fuse waiting for a spark. The Vault of Origin, Ethan said finally. Why is it hidden near a dying star? Lyra opened her eyes, because that's where it all began. Before Earth, before the colonies. That system was where the first humans rose from the ashes. And you? Ethan asked. What happens when we reach it? Lyra didn't answer right away. Instead, she looked at him with sadness in her eyes. My purpose ends there, she whispered. I was made to unlock the vault, but once it opens, the energy inside will destroy me. Ethan felt the words hit his chest like ice. No, he said, there has to be another way. Captain Rylan finally spoke. She's telling the truth. The collectors knew this, that's why. They built the locks the way they did. A price must be paid to wake the past. Ethan slammed his fist against the console. This isn't right. She saved me. She saved all of us. Lyra touched his arm gently. Maybe this is how I save you again, she said softly. This galaxy has been ruled by fear for too long. The ship dropped out of warp. Before them stretched the edge of a collapsing star system. Ash-colored planets drifted through space, like broken teeth. And at the center, floating in orbit, was a massive ring structure wrapped around a dark moon. The Vault of Origin, it's beautiful. Ethan whispered, and dangerous, Rylan added. Look. A fleet of ships had already arrived, sleek and sharp, not of human design. The collectors were here, waiting. Ethan's hands moved across the controls. We'll land on the far side of the ring, stay hidden in the shadows. The ship moved through the debris, silent and unseen. They docked near a broken pylon and stepped out into darkness. The structure hummed beneath their feet like something asleep. As they walked, lights activated one by one. The vault recognized them, or maybe it recognized him. They reached a giant chamber at the heart of the ring. A tall obelisk rose from the center, covered in symbols that pulsed with golden light. Lyra approached it slowly, her eyes wide with awe. "This is it," she whispered. "I was born from this code. My body, my mind, my memories all came from this place." Ethan stepped forward, placing his hand on the obelisk. It responded instantly, glowing brighter. Then, without warning, an alarm blared through the ring. "They found us," Ryland said, drawing his weapon from the shadows. Collector soldiers emerge, silent, fast, merciless. Gunfire exploded through the chamber. Ethan fought beside Ryland. While Lyra moved to the core of the vault, every step she took made the obelisk glow stronger. One of the soldiers broke through and lunged at Ethan. But Lyra raised her hand and released a wave of light. The soldier vanished in a beam of pure energy. "You're not just a key," Ethan said, breathless. "You're a weapon." "No," Lyra replied, her voice shaking. "I'm a memory of hope." She stepped into the center of the obelisk, and the chamber began to shake. A voice filled the air, not from speakers, but from the structure itself. Human presence confirmed. Genetic match complete. Final protocol unlocked. The walls peeled away, revealing massive screens showing Earth, the old empires, the wars, and the fall. Then the images shifted to a future where humans walked again among the stars, free, awake, and united. Lyra turned to Ethan, tears in her eyes. "This is my goodbye," she said. "No?" Ethan stepped forward. "There has to be another way." She smiled. "You freed me once. Now let me free you." Her body lifted into the air, glowing brighter and brighter until the entire chamber was filled with light. Then silence. The obelisk lowered, and in its place stood a single symbol, ancient, human, powerful. The vault had awakened. And Lyra was gone. Ethan dropped to his knees, heart heavy, but the floor below him pulsed with energy. A voice spoke again. Message sent to hidden colonies. Human signal restored. Captain Ryland stepped forward, eyes wide. "You did it," he said quietly. "She did it." Ethan replied. He stood, fists clenched. "She freed the truth. And now it's time the galaxy remembers who we are." Above them, far beyond the dying star, old satellites flickered to life, and across forgotten corners of space humans began to wake.